The year was 2087 when humanity first realized its potential among the stars. It wasn't a grand moment heralded by trumpets or celebrated across the globe. It began with a simple transmission from the Mars colony's chief engineer, James Wilson. "We've done it," he said, his voice crackling through millions of kilometers of space. "The helium-3 fusion reactor is stable. We have unlimited power." On Earth, Director Anna Moore of the Global Space Initiative stared at the readings coming through her neural interface. The data didn't lie. The Mars colony had achieved what Earth's greatest minds had attempted for decades. The colony, originally established as a scientific outpost, had become humanity's technological frontier by necessity. Isolated from Earth's resources, they had innovated where others merely theorized. Within 6 months, the Mars colony expanded from its original dome to an underground network spanning nearly 10 square kilometers. Their population doubled, then tripled as Earth's brightest minds volunteered for the one-way journey. "We need to think bigger," said Thomas Reed, the colony's newly appointed governor, addressing the Earth Council via quantum link. Mars was just the beginning. "With our new propulsion system, we can reach Jupiter's moons in weeks, not years." Earth's governments, still recovering from the resource wars of the 2060s, initially resisted. Resources were scarce, and public opinion remained focused on terrestrial concerns. But Earth's situation grew increasingly dire. Rising sea levels had claimed coastal cities, and the population strained under limited arable land. Captain Lisa Brown's mission to Europa changed everything. Her team discovered microorganisms thriving beneath the moon's icy surface. The revelation that life existed beyond Earth united humanity in a way no political movement ever could. "We are not alone in this universe," she announced, "and we have an obligation to explore it." The discovery sparked what historians would later call the first wave of expansion. Colony ships were built in Earth's orbit, designed to be self-sufficient arcs of humanity bound for the outer planets. Jupiter's moons, Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto, were the first to host permanent settlements, with Saturn's Titan following shortly after. Each colony developed its own specialty. Europa focused on xenobiology and water reclamation technologies. Ganymede became the solar system's shipyard. Titan pioneered atmospheric manipulation. Earth, once the center of human civilization, gradually became just one planet among many in humanity's growing sphere of influence. By 2120, over 1 million humans lived off Earth, with that number growing exponentially each year. The various colonies, initially dependent on Earth for guidance, began developing their own governance structures and cultures. Tensions rose as Earth attempted to maintain control over its far-flung children. It was becoming increasingly clear that the old models of nationhood and governance were insufficient for a species spreading across a solar system. Humanity stood at a crossroads, poised between a future of fragmentation or unification. The answer would come not from Earth, but from the stars humanity had only just begun to reach. The crisis that birthed the Human Federation came unexpectedly in 2137. A massive solar flare, far more powerful than any previously recorded, threatened all human settlements in the solar system. Earth, with its protective magnetic field, would weather the storm. The colonies, with their more limited shielding, faced extinction. "We have 72 hours, announced Dr. Robert Miller, Earth's chief astrophysicist. "After that, the radiation front hits Mars, then cascades through the system." The response was unprecedented. Earth's nations, which had hoarded their defensive technologies for generations, suddenly shared everything. The Europa Deep Space Array was repurposed into a massive early warning system. Ships from Ganymede's fleet positioned themselves as makeshift shields for vulnerable stations. In those 3 days, more information and resources crossed colonial borders than in the preceding 50 years. When the flare passed and the final tally was counted, losses were minimal. No colony had fallen, though all bore scars. "We survived because we worked together," said Admiral John Parker of the Mars Defense Fleet during an emergency summit held 2 weeks later. But what happens when the next crisis comes? Will we return to our isolation? The answer came from an unexpected source. The Titan Economic Consortium, led by Olivia Wright, proposed the formation of an interplanetary body with real authority, not just to coordinate during emergencies, but to govern the expansion of humanity. We call it the Human Federation, Wright explained. Not Earth and its colonies, but equal partners in humanity's future. The negotiations were bitter. Earth's nations, accustomed to their authority, balked at giving colonies equal standing. The outer settlements, having tasted self-governance, refused anything less. What broke the deadlock was Mars colony's declaration of independence, a move that would have triggered war a generation earlier, but now served as a wake-up call. The Lunar Accords, signed in 2140 on neutral ground at Armstrong Base, established the framework for the Federation. Each world received representation proportional to population, but with protective measures ensuring no single planet could dominate. Earth retained influence but surrendered direct control. The Federation's first act was the creation of a unified military command, the Federation Space Force, tasked with protecting humanity's expanding frontier. Its second was establishing the Interplanetary Development Fund, which would finance the most ambitious engineering project in human history, the first faster-than-light prototype, codenamed Pathfinder. "The stars are no longer our destination," said Federation President Miguel Torres during his inauguration speech. "They are our birthright." By 2160, the Federation encompassed 17 major settlements across 6 planetary bodies. Uniform standards for communication, trade, and defense had replaced the patchwork of colonial regulations. Citizenship became transferable between worlds, allowing unprecedented freedom of movement. Not everyone embraced the new order. The Freedom Alliance, composed primarily of independent asteroid mining collectives, refused Federation authority. Their resistance, while initially peaceful, would eventually boil over into the border conflicts of the 2170s, the Federation's first true test of unity. But even as these internal challenges mounted, humanity's gaze turned outward. The Pathfinder project neared completion, and with it, the promise of reaching beyond the solar system. The Human Federation, born of crisis and compromise, stood poised at the threshold of becoming something greater, an interstellar civilization. The Pathfinder's first flight in 2182 marked humanity's greatest technological achievement. The ship didn't merely approach the speed of light. It bent space-time itself, creating what physicist Dr. Emily Taylor called a bubble of conventional reality that carried the vessel between stars. "We've reduced a journey of decades to mere weeks," she explained as the ship returned from Proxima Centauri. And this is just the beginning. What Taylor couldn't have anticipated was how the FTL drive would transform human civilization. Within a decade, second-generation ships extended humanity's reach to a dozen star systems. By 2220, that number had grown to over 100. The colonies established in these new systems differed fundamentally from their solar system predecessors. They were planned with meticulous care, designed to achieve self-sufficiency within a single generation. Each colony ship carried not just people but entire ecosystems, plants, animals, and microorganisms, carefully selected to terraform alien worlds. On New Terra, the first extrasolar colony, Director William Hayes oversaw the deployment of atmospheric processors that converted the planet's carbon dioxide-rich atmosphere to an oxygen-nitrogen mix in less than 15 years. What would have taken nature millions of years, humanity accomplished before the first generation of colonists reached adulthood. The Federation's Technological Development Bureau became the driving force behind humanity's ascendance. Under the leadership of Director Frank Collins, the Bureau established research hubs on every major world, each focusing on different specialties. Biotechnology on New Terra, quantum computing on Ta Ceti II, materials science on Wolf 359 bits. Innovation through specialization and cooperation, Collins called it. No single world can master all technologies, but together, we can achieve mastery of any technology. The most profound breakthrough came in 2245 with the development of neural interface technology that allowed direct mind-to-computer connections. Initially created for controlling spacecraft, the technology rapidly evolved to facilitate instantaneous communication between human minds across interstellar distances. "We've eliminated the final barrier to human unity," said Dr. Helen Gray, lead developer of the MindLink network. "Distance is no longer an obstacle to shared experience." The MindLink became the backbone of Federation governance, allowing real-time deliberation despite the vast distances between settlements. More importantly, it created a shared cultural space where ideas flowed freely between worlds that had never seen each other's skies. By 2270, humanity possessed technologies that would have seemed magical to previous generations: matter replication, gravity manipulation, energy generation that tapped the quantum fabric of reality itself. Federation ships could terraform uninhabitable worlds, construct orbital habitats that housed millions, and travel between star systems as easily as ancient humans had sailed between continents. Yet humanity remained alone. Despite exploring over 500 star systems, the Federation had found abundant evidence of simple life, but no sign of intelligent alien civilizations. This cosmic solitude led to an uncomfortable question: was humanity not just reaching for the stars, but inheriting them? The debate over humanity's role in the galaxy intensified when the long-range survey vessel Discovery detected an artificial signal emanating from the galactic core, clear evidence that humanity was not, and had never been, alone in the cosmos. First contact occurred in 2289, not through diplomatic channels, but through desperate necessity. The Federation survey ship Horizon encountered a damaged alien vessel drifting in interstellar space. Captain David Miller made the decision to render aid, a choice that would alter humanity's destiny. The ship belonged to the Aldari, a spacefaring species whose civilization spanned dozens of worlds near the galactic center. They had been monitoring humanity's expansion with growing concern, uncertain whether these newcomers represented a threat or an opportunity. "We've watched your kind spread across 200 worlds in just a century," said Ambassador Kilur, the first Aldari to address the Federation Council. "No species in our records has ever expanded so rapidly." What the Aldari and the 6 other spacefaring civilizations they introduced humanity to had not anticipated was the Federation's response. Rather than reacting with fear or aggression to the discovery that they shared the galaxy, humanity embraced the opportunity with characteristic adaptability. The Galactic Concordat, signed in 2295, established formal relations between the Federation and the stellar community, the loose alliance of species that had been sharing the galaxy for millennia. While other species had colonized more worlds and possessed histories spanning hundreds of thousands of years, none matched humanity's innovative drive or unity of purpose. "The humans bring something we have long lacked," noted Vreen historian Tullax. "They see problems as opportunities rather than obstacles." This mindset was most clearly demonstrated in the Federation's response to the drift, a region of space where stars were dying at an accelerated rate due to a poorly understood cosmic phenomenon. Where other species had simply avoided the region, Federation scientists saw a chance to understand fundamental processes of stellar evolution. The Stellar Preservation Initiative, led by Admiral Jane Foster, deployed a network of energy distribution arrays that extended the lifespan of dying stars by centuries. The technology not only saved dozens of inhabited worlds from eventual destruction, but revolutionized energy production throughout known space. They accomplished in decades what we concluded was impossible after centuries of study, remarked Zen physicist Raul. "Perhaps we have grown too cautious in our ancient wisdom." By 2320, the Human Federation had become the driving force in galactic politics despite being the newest arrival on the interstellar stage. Federation technologies were adopted throughout the stellar community, and human advisors were sought by species that had been traveling between stars before humans had discovered fire. This rapid ascendance was not without complications. The Makari Dominion, a hierarchical empire that had dominated trade routes near the galactic rim for millennia, viewed humanity's rise with alarm. Their attempts to restrict Federation expansion led to the boundary disputes, a series of limited conflicts that tested humanity's newfound position. The resolution came not through military victory, but through Federation Diplomatic Corps' most ambitious initiative, the Galactic Exchange Program. By encouraging the free movement of people, goods, and ideas between all civilizations, the Federation undermined the economic basis of the Dominion's power while creating a more integrated galactic society. "We don't seek to conquer," said Federation President Maria Lopes during the signing of the exchange protocols. "We seek to connect." As humanity approached its first century of interstellar diplomacy, the galaxy was transforming. Species that had maintained rigid isolation for thousands of years were establishing cultural and economic ties. Technologies were being shared and improved upon through collaborative efforts. The Human Federation, once a defensive alliance of colonies fighting for survival, had become the catalyst for a more united galaxy. And yet, as humanity looked outward to the stars beyond the Milky Way, whispers began to spread of ancient ruins found on worlds at the edge of explored space, evidence that the current galactic civilizations were neither the first nor potentially the greatest to reach for the stars. The discovery of the precursor artifacts in 2347 marked a turning point in galactic history. On a seemingly unremarkable planet orbiting a dim red dwarf star, Federation archaeologists uncovered technology dating back over 2 million years, remnants of a civilization that had spanned not just the galaxy but reached beyond it. They called themselves the Architects, explained Dr. Mark Johnson, examining symbols that had taken AI systems decades to decode. And they didn't just explore the universe, they reshaped it. The revelation that galaxies themselves could be traversed transformed the Federation's understanding of its potential future. The stellar community, which had mapped barely a quarter of the Milky Way in its combined history, suddenly faced the prospect of intergalactic civilization. Under the direction of Grand Admiral Laura Wilson, the Federation launched the Andromeda Initiative, a multi-species effort to develop technology capable of crossing the vast void between galaxies. The project drew from the scientific expertise of all known civilizations, becoming the largest collaborative endeavor in recorded history. "We stand on the shoulders of those who came before us," Wilson told the combined scientific teams, "both human and alien, recent and ancient. Together, we will achieve what none of us could alone." The work proceeded with unprecedented speed. By 2375, the first test vessels successfully traversed the million-light-year gulf to the Andromeda Galaxy and returned, a journey that would have taken conventional FTL ships thousands of years to complete. This achievement coincided with a fundamental restructuring of the Federation itself. The original framework, designed for managing a few hundred colonies, had grown unwieldy as humanity spread across thousands of worlds. President Thomas Brooks proposed the Commonwealth system, a decentralized governance model that preserved Federation principles while allowing for greater regional autonomy. "We must adapt just as our ancestors did," Brooks argued. "The Federation that united the solar system cannot be the same Federation that unites galaxies." The transition was not without opposition. The purist movement, advocating for human supremacy within the Federation's expanding sphere of influence, gained support in the outer colonies. Their slogan, "Human destiny cannot be diluted," resonated with those who feared humanity would lose its identity amid the growing diversity of Federation space. The crisis came to a head with the Rigel secession, where 27 predominantly human worlds attempted to break away from the Federation to form an independent human-centric state. The conflict that followed tested not just the Federation's military capacity but its fundamental principles. Resolution came through the Harmony Protocols of 2382, which balanced the preservation of human cultural identity with continued integration into the wider galactic community. The compromise allowed humanity to maintain its distinctive innovative spirit while benefiting from the depth of alien wisdom. "We do not need to choose between being human and being galactic citizens," said Federation Chancellor Alice Taylor. "Our adaptability, our defining trait as a species, allows us to be both." By the dawn of the 25th century, the Federation had evolved into something its founders could never have imagined. The human-led intergalactic Commonwealth encompassed over 20,000 worlds across multiple galaxies, united not by force, but by shared principles and the free exchange of ideas. Faster-than-light communication networks linked distant stars in real-time conversation. Dyson swarms harnessed the energy of entire suns to power civilization's expansion. Terraforming technologies transformed barren rocks into garden worlds in mere decades rather than centuries. Yet for all this advancement, humanity retained the spark that had first driven it beyond Earth: curiosity, adaptability, and an unwavering desire to see what lay beyond the next horizon. "We began as creatures of dust on a single world," reflected grand historian Peter Wells in his seminal work, The Human Journey. "Now our descendants walk among the stars of a dozen galaxies, partners in a civilization spanning millions of light years. Yet in our hearts, we remain explorers, forever seeking new frontiers." As the Commonwealth's great ships prepared for the first journey to a galaxy cluster beyond the local group, a voyage of over 50 million light years, humanity stood at the threshold of yet another beginning. From its humble origins on a single blue planet, the human story had become interwoven with the cosmos itself. And still, the universe beckoned.